I was having some connection problems, but thanks for getting on. We are live. Okay, Mama, I see you. Welcome to episode 59 of the Positive Impact Podcast, where we talk about all topics relevant to the game that I love. I am your host, Terrell Dozier, and tonight's episode is sponsored by Kinetic Urban Clothing, my man Rodney Crockett, who blessed me with this beautiful t-shirt. Support others the way that you want to be supported. I'm excited to talk to tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is a young lady who I've known for a very, very long time, and she's grown into a wonderful young lady. Kentucky, Olivia Owens. Les,
Hey, what's going on?
how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I am great. I am great. Good to see you. Thank you for jumping on tonight.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Nah, not a problem. Not a problem. So first question is always, obviously we had this pandemic. How are you getting along? How are you and your family getting along during your time where you were at home? How's everything been going?
The pandemic has definitely been very interesting. It's not, normal, so I definitely have to adjust to the new normal. During the first part of the pandemic, right after I had left Maryland, I went home for a few months and I was with my family, and it was so great being able to spend time with my family, my mom and dad, my brothers, siblings, and everybody. So I was able to see them. And then after that, I actually came back to Maryland at my apartment, so I was able to work out a little bit more, get into the weight room at my housing facility, and we had outside courts because things were very limited in New York. So I spent some time there getting my stuff together, and then going to Kentucky, then finally getting to Kentucky, and had to move very slow because of the pandemic in terms of getting it back into the gym. But that adjustment has been really, really good. They've made great accommodations for us. And it's been honestly a pretty smooth transition here. It's a little interesting because I'm not able to be around all the athletes at one time, and I'm not able to be around a lot of people. So, I mean, it's interesting, but it's good. It's good.
Okay, nah, no question. So let's dive right into it. You come from a wonderful family, love your family to death.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a lot of basketball being played in that family. So first of all, I wanted you to talk about when you developed the love for the game, and what's your first memory of playing basketball?
Okay, so I remember when I was I forget the name of the building at the time, but it was downtown Albany, and I was playing basketball, and I was super bougie as a child. Like I would stop the whole game to go get some juice and be like, I'm tired, I cannot even. So that's the first memory that I have as basketball. But I remember, my older brother playing for Dream Team at the time and traveling around with them, and then just getting so many friends. So like Kiki and Aaliyah, and just and Zoe and them being our friends. We were the cheerleaders at the time, but then we eventually got into basketball, and so we took basketball relatively serious. So we played on Lady Dream, and I was with the pink uniform. So, I mean, I definitely was sold on that concept.
Yeah.
And then I played for Capitals for a few years, and then I went to um, City Rocks. And City Rocks is definitely where I established my relationships that are lifelong, and some of the people that who were my teammates then, I still talk to today. And of course, Keith Danzy, that's my guy. Always and forever will be. And those are some of the best, honestly, the best times of my life. So that's kind of where basketball got started. And I also remember playing for like my school at the time for elementary. I went to Eagle Point, and I played there with the POW League.
Yeah.
And those are some of the great experiences that I've had. I remember I played in Converse, and some
Right.
brown
Right.
Converse were my basketball sneakers at the time. So yeah, but I love basketball ever since I was about fourth, fifth, sixth grade ish. That's kind of when I got started.
So you must have got my head a little bit because I was going to bring up the fact that the first time I saw you play was at Siena College, and sure enough, um, P came up to me and said, Doge, you gotta watch this girl, man. I'm like, all right. And sure enough, it was in the pink uniforms, man. And I
Oh, for
said,
sure.
goodness gracious. I said, who is this tall girl? And that was the first time I ever saw you. And obviously, like you said, saw you with the Capitals, and then obviously playing with the City Rocks, where you became nationally known, traveling around with that wonderful program.
Hmm.
Um, so I want to kind of talk to you about, because you played AAU on these high levels, and then
Hmm.
you you decided to go to Niska Unit in high school. And I kind of want to talk about the pressures, right? So the first thing, like when we see a tall girl, it's like, oh my gosh, she's tall. She has to play basketball. You know what I mean? And she
Hmm.
has to be good because she's tall, and whatever the case may be. So I want to kind of talk about, was there ever a pressure for you coming up to be good, like, you know what I mean? And at some point it might have turned from fun into a business for you. So kind of elaborate on that a little bit.
For sure, basketball is definitely a hobby, but at the same time, it gets real. And I know for me, when I fell in love with basketball, I was young, and the pressure didn't start to hit until, I guess, upper high school, maybe my sophomore, freshman year as well. But I felt like it was more so the pressures and the expectations that I put on myself more than anyone else. Of course, I had the car rides home, with the parents from AAU games. They said, Olivia, you could have did this, could have did this. And of course, I mean, I had those with my parents, but the majority of the pressure that I felt like I experienced were the expectations that I felt like I needed to achieve. And I mean, at that time, I was getting, looks from a lot of colleges. And I felt like, if you're getting all these looks, then you better, be showing out and doing what you're supposed to do. Um, so I guess that's kind of just what it was. It wasn't more so about everyone else feeling like I needed to be something else. I mean, of course, people had always had something to say, but at the same time, it was more so the pressures that I put on myself.
Right. So talk about those whispers, right? So here you
Hmm.
are, a top 50 player in the country, right? So when you're top 50, right, you're supposed to be averaging 40 points a game, 20 rebounds, 13 blocks a game, and whatever the case may be. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But there's a process that goes into getting to the point where you've gotten yourself. And so, like I said, I know you had a great circle around you, kept you grounded
Hmm.
and kept you protected. But did any of that ever like get into your head a little bit, like what the whispers were, or were you always good at just blocking those things out?
Well, like you said, I had great people around me. And so anytime where I felt like I was kind of slipping, I always had people to be like, hey, Liv, come on, we got to snap out of it. This is not, what we need to be worrying about. And I know, like, I started playing with City Rocks on the EYBL level when I was in like seventh grade. And so the expectations that I put on myself was that I had to be like, I'm like almost like, I think 12, 13, 14 playing with 17-year-olds. And I'm thinking I have to play like them.
Yeah.
And so although that was times where it was very challenging, I felt like that was necessary because I learned so much about myself and also how to become a leader, learning from people who I played with and how they helped me go through those times where I always kind of like always doubted myself. I mean, definitely helped to shape me into the, I guess, leader that I had grown to be at the time. Um, so yeah, but in terms of what everybody else had to say, in terms of all the rankings and all that, I mean, it wasn't necessarily important to me. And with regards to needing to drop 40, 35 a game, like, of course, you want to do it because you see all social media and all this other cool stuff, but at the same time, it's just like this is a team, and like your end goal, at least at that moment right then, is to win the game, and you got to do what you can do. Like if I'm not on in terms of scoring, then my defense got to be tight. Or if I'm just having a terrible game, there are other ways to influence the game, even if you're not playing. So it's feeding into your other teammates and things like that. So, I mean, as you get older, you kind of mature and you understand the business of it. And you also understand working well with others in order to achieve the end goal, which is winning. And so I felt like, you know, getting off of myself helped all of us be better as a team and as a unit. And I feel like that's something that coaches are looking for now, being able to adjust and being able to get out of your head. So,
Right.
you know.
Nah, very well stated. So you're playing all across the country, like you said. You know, anybody who knows grassroots basketball knows that the EYBL level, you know, on the boys and the girls side is a high level of basketball. And like you said, you've been experiencing that level of basketball since you were young. You know what I'm saying? Like you were just thrown to the fire. So talk about like these nationally ranked girls that you've played against, and then you come back to the capital region, right? And also when you play with City Rocks, you got girls at every position that are just as good as you are. So you got 1 through 5 where you didn't have to always carry the entire load. But then when you
Mm-hmm.
came back to Niskayuna for the high school season, you kind of had to do everything. So talk about the difference between the two and how you had to adjust your game during the spring and the summer as opposed to the winter at Niskayuna.
Oh, for sure. With regards to adjusting my game, I had to make sure that I stayed at the same level, regardless of who I was playing against and who I was playing with. Now, being a 14, 13, 16-year-old, that was kind of tough. You know, you go through, you see too many things, you know, all that type of stuff. But at the same time, having people in your ear. So for me, it was Coach Danzy. Coach Danzy was always the person, you know, on the City Rocks AAU, but he was also there during high school, and he was always there year round, always constantly checking on me to make sure that I was doing what I needed to do. At the time when I was in high school, honestly my work ethic wasn't as good as it needed to be, and it wasn't nearly as what it is now. But just kind of having people just remind me of the things that I needed to do, and with regards to like, you know, going from playing against national players to going to Niskayuna in high school. I actually really loved Niskayuna, and being able to play with, you know, my teammates. It was challenging at times because we wasn't always winning, but we also had a good experience, and that also helped me to be mentally strong in many different aspects. And although I might not have performed as well as I wanted to, or maybe I performed a lot, you know, you always have to be the same person at the end of the day. So those are just some things that I've learned, you know, through those experiences.
So over the last couple of weeks, you know what I'm saying, I've talked to Grace Heaps, I talked to Shyla last week, and now I'm talking to you. And all
Mm-hmm.
three of you are girls who I've seen from a young age. And like
Mm-hmm.
I said, the first thing that stood out to me was your height, um, your ability to run. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like I saw you grow into your body, and you know how you ran and how you know you started taking the ball off the backboard and dribbling. So your game really evolved. You know what I mean, from the youngster to the time
Mm-hmm.
where you know, when you graduated high school. And so you said you love Mr. Una, so that was going to be my next question. Like, you know, because of the team structure and everything, and okay, you know, I love to win. We weren't winning a lot. Was there ever a time where you thought about leaving?
Leaving Niskayuna, I actually did leave. I was at Niskayuna my middle school year, and then I went to Albany Academy my freshman year of high school,
Okay.
and then I came back to Niskayuna. And I felt like, I guess at the time, you needed high school for exposure, but really, you really didn't. And honestly, my family was in Niskayuna, and you know, Academy of Holy Names, that's in downtown Albany. So that was a lot in itself. So I feel like, you know, I had my friends, I had my family, everybody was in Niskayuna. Um, and although, you know, it took a lot of for us to compete and everything, we still did what we needed to do. And I made sure that I relied on City Rocks, and I used, you know, Niskayuna in the sense as practice, and also as in a sense as, you know, working as hard as I possibly can. Um, and yeah,
Okay. So obviously it's worked out. You understand what I'm
it
saying?
worked out.
Obviously you did the right thing. So
Yes.
now your recruiting is picking up. Recruiting is picking up and recruiting is picking up. Talk
Mm-hmm.
about going through the process of, you know, your recruiting and what you learned through recruiting and talking to various coaches during in-home visits, and then, you know, your unofficial visits and then your official visits. And if you can remember, talk to me about the final two colleges that it came down to you from?
Okay, so for me, the first round of recruitment was, I remember it being super stressful. I was going through so much as a high school student and then trying to juggle talking to colleges literally all the time. Um, and it was a lot, basically. But I know, like, during that time, I felt like I took an approach that was more of a childish standpoint, but I was a child at the time. And so when talking to a lot of the coaches, it was more so about relationships and who did I like as a person. And, let me see, what the campus looks like and all this other stuff that was really cool. All the intangible things that really doesn't matter at the end of the day. It matters, but doesn't. But I didn't look at the things that I looked at in my second round, which I'm sure we will talk about. But I know with my first round of recruitment, it came down to Maryland and maybe Minnesota. I mean, for me, I wanted to go to Maryland. That's where I wanted to go. My family loved Maryland. I loved Maryland. That was really the place. I committed my, oh Lord help me, at the end of AAU my junior year, and so that way I can just chill my senior year. And I knew I was going to Maryland, so that's kind of what the recruitment process was for me at the time.
Okay, so what did you love about Maryland? What made you fall in love with the University of Maryland, which was a great choice, obviously. But what made you fall in love with that?
So at the time, of course, there was Coach B, and then at the time they had Coach Shelby and they had Coach Terry. And I didn't talk to Coach Shea as much, but those are the two coaches that I had talked to at the time, and absolutely fell in love with them and learning about their families and establishing relationships with them. It was great at the time, and for me, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to study, and so I felt like the best place to go was somewhere like near Washington D.C., where there are so many different things that you can get into and so many networking opportunities. And so I felt like from an academic and an athletic, and also is only 6 hours from home, I felt like that was just kind of great. It was like that was it for me.
Okay, so you get there freshman year, and talk about your experience. You had a little injury bug there, like what I mean. You had a lot of freshmen don't just come in and play right away. You know what I mean.
hmm
So what was from high school to your freshman year at college? What was the biggest adjustment that you felt like you had to make?
Um, I wouldn't say there is some huge biggest adjustment, but I would say there is a lot that goes on. Going from high school to college, it is a huge adjustment period. Um, with regards to time management, academics is harder. You're competing and playing with your teammates. It's a business and it hits you really, really fast. And if you're not prepared to go to college and knowing that it's going to be a business, then you will be shocked. And so I felt like that, I guess that was probably my biggest adjustment, but I'm not going to go too far into detail. But what I will say is that, sometimes you do need to go to other places and have different company and have different experiences to grow as an individual. And that's something that I felt like I needed to do. And that's why I'm so excited of this new opportunity that I'm having here at Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, like, I don't think Maryland was a mistake at all. And although I wasn't able to play my second year because I had gotten sick, there's still so much that I learned, not only as a player, but also as a person. And I don't think that God ever makes mistakes. And so I feel like when going to Maryland, there's just so much that I'm going to take with me. I had some wonderful experiences at Maryland, by the way. And I just want to make it clear that no one ever wants to transfer. But sometimes, especially with business moves, you have to do what you got to do. And yeah.
Nah, no question about it, and beautifully stated. You know what I mean? Um, you know, things happen. And sometimes it works out for people, and sometimes, like you said, like you have to use certain experiences to grow, and you had to get there, and regardless, like you're the one who had to go through it, and nobody else, and you always have to do what's best for you. You know what I mean? And like you said, it didn't work out there, but I learned a lot that I can take from there and bring with you to your new opportunity at the University of Kentucky. So take me through the process of it all. You know, when you started thinking about it a little bit, and then was Kentucky the only school that you contacted? Like, take me through the world of transfer. Like, you know, there's a transfer portal. Take me through that.
Okay, so I had an idea of transferring my freshman year, actually. And with that, that was more so, I guess, a childish reason of transferring, in the sense that I wanted to transfer because I wasn't getting enough PT.
Of
I
course.
wanted to transfer because I wasn't having a great experience. And I felt like I actually had a long conversation with Coach Danzy at the end of my freshman year, and the conversation consists of, Olivia, are you doing everything that you're supposed to be doing as a player? And so having that conversation, it was more so like I had to take ownership of the things that I needed to do, because you can't change what other people are doing. You can only change what you can do. And so with regards to that, I was just like, listen, I'm just going to flip everything. I'm going to work as hard as we possibly can. I'm going to go into my sophomore season, you know, all of this, all of this, all of this. And unfortunately, I got sick, so I wasn't able to do anything. But during that process, there were some things that had happened that ultimately led to my decision on a business aspect as to why I wanted to leave Maryland. And then I entered the transfer portal at the end of the season. Unfortunately, our team wasn't able to, you know, compete in an NCAA tournament, and I wanted us to go all the way because I know how hard they worked. And I was on the scout team, so I was helping them in practice. And so I really wish that we were able to, you know, go all the way. Unfortunately, we weren't because of the pandemic, but I did enter the transfer portal at the end of the season.
Now let me stop
And
you right there. Let me cut you off
okay.
real quick. Explain the process when you say I entered the transfer portal. How do you actually enter the transfer portal?
Oh, okay. So what you do is, you know, you have a conversation with your coach and you kind of just talk through, you know, the decision of why you want to leave and things like that. And it can be a long one, it can be a short one. And then after that, you go to your compliance office and then you tell them, you know, what you want to do, and they send you a form via email. You send it out, you fill it out and send it back, and then they enter you into a transfer portal, which I'm pretty sure it's just like a list of everybody who wants to leave,
Okay.
and if you can contact them or not. Talking about coaches that they can contact them, and I want coaches to contact me. So literally, as soon as he clicked me into the transfer portal, I had like maybe 15 colleges that day, which
Wow.
honestly, it was a little overwhelming, but honestly, it was such a blessing because again, I didn't play a lot my freshman year and I didn't play at all my sophomore year, so I wasn't, you know, really sure what how this was going to play out for me or what it was going to look like. But Duke was actually the first college that reached out to me. Um, and then I started hearing from colleges like Dayton, Mississippi State, Boston College, Kentucky, of course. Um, who else? Penn State, Rutgers, Northwestern, just to name a few. Those are just some of the colleges who had reached out to me at the time. And again, this process I took completely differently than, you know, the first time around. I
Right.
asked the questions that were necessary. Um, and I might speak about that a little bit because I feel like, you know, when you have young girls, if they're watching this, you
Please,
know, it's
please.
important to, you know, what you should be asking. You should be asking about, like, you know, how many people are in your position? What plans do they could potentially see down the line? Um, what does development look like? How are they going to get you, you know, where you need to be? Depending on what you want to do with your future, do they have connections, you know, professionally? And these are just a few of the questions that you ask. And of course, with academics, I mean, academics is very important. So, you know, if you don't know what you want to study, at least make sure you ask them what things are available, how many majors that the colleges has. And so those are just some of the questions that I had gone through during the time. And, you know, transferring from a different school with in terms of like credits and things, like that's a little bit different.
Hmm.
But if you are someone who, you know, is transferring from a different school, make sure you ask about how many credits will be transferring over, and so that you can still graduate on time. So those are just some things some little nuggets, I guess.
Super important. Thank you for
Hmm.
mentioning the transfer credits.
Hmm.
So I am somebody, you know what I mean, and you talk about making childish decisions when you're talking about transferring, right? Because
Hmm.
the first thing that we all want is playing time,
Right.
right? And if because we're not used to sitting, you understand? So I'm
Hmm.
ready to leave because I'm not playing enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
And everybody back home is expecting, whatever the case may be. I was a second semester junior, and I said, I'm out of here.
Mm.
And I transferred to another college and became a second semester freshman because
Mm.
I didn't understand. I thought if I passed the class,
Mm.
then it'll come with me, and it's not like that. And I still did it anyway, which is a huge mistake. But I'm
Right.
glad that you asked that question because that's super important, and that goes to show the good head that you got on your shoulders and the maturity that you have at your age. So I'm proud of you for that, for understanding the questions that I need to ask as I make this move, because you still want to graduate on time. You don't want to transfer
Right.
and now have to do extra years. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Now, however, with your transferring, you got a redshirt year, which means you still have 3 years of eligibility left at Kentucky.
Cross our fingers.
Okay. And now, but are you still carrying 2 years of credits? What are
Yes.
you academically?
So actually at Maryland, I was on the track of graduating in 3 years.
I figured that.
Um, so um, so here when I transferred to Kentucky, I'm just now just a junior, which I'm basically on the right track. But I also had to switch my major because I didn't have my major. So at Maryland, I was a criminology major and I double minored in communications and law and society. And currently, I am a U.S. cultural and business practices major, and I'm a double minor in communications and criminology. And so a lot of it did transfer over. Only a little bit actually didn't transfer over. So it actually worked out perfectly.
Okay,
So now I'm just on the right track with
good.
regards to school
And
year.
so with these beautiful majors and double minors, what is it? What is the goal? What is the goal after basketball? What are we doing with these majors after basketball?
Well, I know that after Kentucky, I would still like to continue playing basketball. I like to continue to play basketball, I'm sorry. But honestly, I don't know what I want to do with regards to like a job title. And honestly, the older that I get, the more I feel like God reveals to me about myself and about what my capabilities are. And so I just feel like I'll probably just graduate with this degree and somehow it's just going to work out. I'm not really sure how to explain it, but I just have a feeling that it is. But I just kind of know more about myself and what I can do and how I feel like I can change society and help communities and people. And that's honestly my long
Mhm.
term goal, is just to give back to my communities and help them in other ways than not just basketball, but absolutely, but in other aspects of their life as well.
Absolutely. You sound just like your mother when you speak right now, boy. so
That's my girl.
so now so now you make the decision to go to Kentucky.
Mhm.
Why Kentucky?
Honestly, it's gonna sound such like a cliche, but honestly, it was really just a feeling. Just talking to the coaching staff and how genuine they seemed. Um, and for me, although, definitely the business rules are very, very important, you also have to have a feeling about people at the end of the day as well. Um, and I really, really, really liked my coaching staff and the things that they offered at Kentucky. Um, and getting here, I understand why I have that feeling, especially with all that's going on in the world right now with regards to the pandemic, with regards to all the social injustice that we are seeing and experiencing right now. I can honestly say that our coaches have our back. We are able to express ourselves and use our platform as student athletes to talk and to educate and to give back. And that's something that is super important. And not only do we have their support, they're there with us. And it's not just, okay, you guys can do it. They're also there with us. So not only that, but academics and just the culture. I mean, Big Blue Nation, why wouldn't you want to play at Kentucky? And but yeah, and I mean, those are it. And just with regards to playing ability and who is in the position, who's not, and if there's a need for my position, which was very important. And I felt like, they did. And so it kind of just worked out.
Excellent. Excellent. Is there a specific reason why you chose 00? Is there a meaning?
Olivia Owens.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Okay. Now I had to ask. There might be a meaning behind 00. Okay, Olivia Owens.
Yeah, so name's Olivia Owens, 00. That's
got you. Nice. No, I like that. I like that. So I want to ask you some quick hitting questions. So, favorite movie for Olivia Owens?
Okay. So right now, I don't ever have favorite movies because they always change. Okay. But currently, during this pandemic, I have been watching all of the Marvel movies. So I have been watching them in order. And that's basically been my favorite. Thor, I love Captain Marvel, and amazing. Thor, all of them, amazing. So that's kind of just, I mean, I sound like a nerd right now, but that's kind of just what I like at the moment.
It's all good. If you working out, give me a workout song. I'm about to go hard in the weight room. Give me a song right now. I'm about to go hard in the weight room.
About to go hard in the weight room? Oh my goodness. Okay.
There's a difference. There's a difference. You know what I'm saying?
There is. This is weight room.
Weight room. We talking about weight room. You got to put some iron.
Oh Lord. Oh man, you really stumped me with this one. I don't know. I don't know. I just put on any song for real because I'd just be like, let me just do what I gotta do. So I guess anything. If I'm running on a treadmill, it has to be something that's upbeat because I gotta go.
I'm gonna put you at the 4 position.
Okay.
I'm gonna put you at the 4.
Okay.
You got to put a 1, 2, 3, and 5 around you, and you won't lose. Who are you battling with?
I'm the 4.
You're the 4.
Okay. I'm the 4. So let me see. All right, give me a second. Draymond. He could play the 5.
Women's players only.
Okay. Yeah. That's fine. Okay, so if I choose a 5, I would say this could be college and WNBA.
College or WNBA, however you want to do it. You don't want to lose.
Okay, so at the 5, I'm putting Megan Gus from Iowa. Chick is bad. She don't miss. So she's dope at the 5. Let me see. A 1. I mean, of course, my teammates. Let's make that clear. I'm gonna choose my teammates, but in like a different situation, let's see, Ashley Owusu from Maryland. That girl, she bad as the 1. Diamond Miller from Maryland as well. That's my girl. She bad.
She at the 2?
At the. She could be 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
Okay, at the 3.
Oh my goodness. We got 1, 3, 4, 5.
You need a 2 guard.
I need a 2. Oh my goodness. Okay. Right now, since I already have college players, I'm gonna stick with college players.
Okay.
She's not a 2, but I would love to see what she can do at a 2. I will put Lena Lott.
Selena Lott, okay. A little 518 love, okay.
A little 518 love.
No question.
And Saya, I said that girl got a 3, so we're gonna have to have a 6-man or something. We're gonna have to make it work.
Who's the 6 man?
Saida Aziz.
Okay.
That's my
Okay.
girl.
Five,
Got a
hey,
mean 3.
518.
Got a mean
No
3.
doubt. No doubt. No doubt. So, so last question. Last question. When it's all said and done, you're done playing basketball, not lacing up the sneakers no more. How does Olivia Owens want to be? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna ask you 2 questions. I'm gonna ask
Okay.
that one. Hypothetically speaking, I have a daughter who wants to play
Okay.
basketball. What's your advice to my daughter?
Well, I would ask your daughter what are her goals. What does she want to do with basketball? And depending on her age, the most important thing that I would tell her is to have fun. Because if you don't love basketball, then basketball is not for you.
Right.
Um, and especially at a young age, love basketball, but don't treat it as a job just yet. Enjoy life, and being a young female. As you get older, I would tell her to take it serious, have um, a very consistent work ethic, and you have to be your own motivation, and never allow outside things, reflect who you are as a person. Just continue to be you. Never let anything else change who you are at the end of the day. Because basketball exposes you to a lot of different things. So just make sure that you are yourself at the end of the day. Um, yeah. Oh, and something I didn't mention with regards to the recruiting process, make sure that you talk to players before you go there. So, I mean, a lot coaches are going to tell you all the wonderful things about basketball and about their program, but make sure
Mhm.
that you talk to the players who go to that school, who play on that team, the players who play all the minutes and the players who don't. Make sure you talk to them and get, feedback about what's going on.
Absolutely. Okay, now hit me. How do we want to be remembered after it's all said and done?
I honestly want to be remembered as someone who does things with love, always. Someone who is kind, who is approachable, someone who has had an influence on their life and looks to them as a role model, someone who just works hard and wants to see everyone win and thrive. Um, That's it. It's not necessarily, I'm not a huge person all about accolades. Like, yes, I did that in high school. And yes, I have a goal for myself. But at the end of the day, like the accolades, I'm not really thinking about that. It's all about how you make people feel. And I feel like that's the one thing that I want to do is just make sure that I can touch someone's heart and change them so that way they can be successful.
Awesome. Nah, beautifully said. Let me send
Thank
some
you.
shout. Let me send a shout out to your brother. I see he got up on here.
Hey,
He late. He late. He
Danny.
telling me he late, but he got on here. So I want to show my young bull some love in here. But Liv, man, I appreciate you coming on here and spending some time with me. I'm extremely proud of your growth and the young lady that you become and these mature decisions that you made. Only good things are going to come your way. I know that. I believe that. Keep your eye on the prize, and I know that you will. And you know I'll be watching. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it was truly a pleasure, and I appreciate you having me here.
All right, no doubt. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take
All
care.
right, bye.
Bye.